Welcome to Kick It Up a Notch, hosted by Megan and Jenny. We're here to bring you lively conversations, inspiring stories, and a little bit of everything in between. Whether it's life, business, or just a good laugh, we're turning up the energy and diving into what makes life extraordinary. Let's kick it up a notch. Welcome to the fourth episode of Kick It Up a Notch. I'm Megan Thomas here with my amazing co-host, Jennifer McBride. We are realtors, entrepreneurs, and all around just fun gals. We're so glad to have you back for another episode. Make sure you check out our last episode where you can learn 5 things about me and Jenny that you probably didn't know.
Yeah, we're so glad to be back. We are here to talk to some incredible people who are making a big difference in our local community here. So whether it's through your business, nonprofits, or any innovative ideas that you may have, individuals are shaping the future in ways that often go unnoticed. And that's why we are having this podcast. There are some people that are doing amazing things and they're not getting recognized for it. So we wanted to create a platform where we get to share their stories and celebrate how they make an impact in our smaller communities. So today we are kicking it up a notch with Alicia Venson. Thank you for coming, Alicia.
Welcome.
So Alicia is basically an overall badass. Alicia is a mother of 3. She's the administrative assistant for the McBride Real Estate Group, a fellow entrepreneur as the owner and operator of TC Connections, and she is an advocate for veterans.
She's an awesome dancer, a new dog mom. She is a professional consumer of McUltra and a fellow Aquarius, an amazing friend. So she is talking with us today because Alicia is a type 1 diabetic. She has mastered the art of juggling life's demands while prioritizing her health and family. Her journey is a testament to her strength, creativity, and an unwavering commitment to self-care. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Alicia. You and I have known each other for many years, and to be quite honest, I don't remember. And obviously, this isn't something like you say, "Hi, I'm Alicia, and I'm a diabetic," But when you and I, we got to know each other through the Legion, through the American Legion, and I don't know if during that time, like when you and I met, maybe like say 5 or 6 years ago.
You knew her before she was diagnosed then.
Yeah. So I guess that's my question is, when exactly were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed, my official diagnosis was March 17th, St. Patrick's Day of 2021.
Okay.
I would have known, I had blood work done a couple weeks before that. So like the end of February, beginning of March, when everything was opening back up from COVID, I had my annual blood work done. It came back not good. A1C was 13.3. So my doctor knew there was something off with my blood sugars, but I didn't fit the criteria of type 1 or type 2. So then I had to go back in for a second blood test to figure out which type I was. And so then I got those results on March 17th of 2021.
So A1C, to keep it general, blood sugar, and you were 13.3. What is the range you need to be at? Or did they want you to be at to not know anything was abnormal?
If it was above 6%, it was abnormal, and there was something going on with my blood sugars.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What led you to the point of wanting to getting that checked out? I mean, was this just a routine doctor's appointment?
Yep,
or
just a regular doctor's appointment?
You weren't feeling sick, you weren't.
Well, I was. Again, the world shut down in 2020. I was supposed to get my blood work done February, March of 2020. Everything shut down, so I didn't get it done. Again, during that whole time, I was working multiple jobs, wearing a mask for 14 hours a day. So I did have symptoms. I was thirsty, constantly drinking water. I was working out, so I thought I was doing good, losing weight on my own. But come to find out, that was a symptom of being a type 1 diabetic. So was the thirst. I just felt cruddy, but I blamed everything on working so much, the stress, COVID, everything of that, and didn't think of it being an actual medical diagnosis of anything.
Okay. Okay. So how, I guess, has the diagnosis changed your perspective on health and life in general?
Um, it changed it a lot considering that this isn't something that I can change anything and it'll just be gone. So it's the rest of my life. I am, you know, thankfully I have an insulin pump now, but I have devices on me at all times. I'm going to have to give myself insulin for the rest of my life. I have to keep track of my numbers, watch what I eat. There's a lot that has changed that anybody really takes for granted. So, I mean, an autoimmune disease just really does change every, like, a day to day that you do.
So mention that's an autoimmune disease. So they know you weren't born with diabetes.
Correct. I was not. Most type 1s, you're not born with it. It's something that develops. It can be hereditary. It can run in families. In my case, I don't have any family history of it. So we believe that maybe I did contract a virus at some point, and it just attacked my pancreas, which then stopped it from producing insulin.
Okay, that's interesting. It's amazing how things like that, health can be caused. One thing can cause another thing.
Yeah.
I mean, interesting, rude that your own body attacks itself, but not like we don't got enough going on, body. Thanks for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And that it can't, I don't want to say can't be fixed, but no cure for
cure.
it yet. And it's
Nope.
so hard to believe. We know possibly it's something that invades your body and attacks it. It's just so crazy yet that we don't have that reverse ability to reproduce that. And definitely getting back to the tools you use to maintain those levels.
You said something, Alicia, about a pump, and when you started, there could be people that are diabetic out there, type 1 definitely, that needs insulin all of the time, and maybe they haven't transferred to the pump or the Dexcom, I guess, is what you use now. So can you talk a little bit about that and maybe what the benefits of that is and where you started?
Where you started, because you had to earn you had to earn those tools.
I did. So even though it's an autoimmune disease that can't be reversed, I had to prove to my insurance first with maintaining my blood sugars by giving myself daily injections, and then wearing a device that, actually, first I had to prick my fingers multiple times a day and inject myself multiple times a day with insulin. I had to maintain that for almost a year before my insurance would approve for me to have an insulin pump, and then the Dexcom that I wear now.
So when you would do the prick of the finger, like when you were feeling bad, did you have anything to tell you were feeling bad, or that's how you had to check where you were? Prick of the finger, push the blood in, and then read it in a system.
So at the very beginning, because I was very nervous about all this, because I did a deep dive into everything, I did it when I woke up, after 2 hours after I ate breakfast, and then before I ate lunch, 2 hours after I ate lunch, before I ate dinner, 2 hours after I ate dinner, before I went to bed, and if I happened to feel bad, then I would check my blood sugars in between. So I was checking multiple times a day because I wanted to know what my body was doing with what I was putting into it, which most of the time people don't have to worry about that. You just consume whatever you want and you go about your day. I couldn't do that because either I would feel like crap because I went up so high, or I would have to check and make sure I didn't give myself too much insulin and I was going low.
That balancing act, yeah. So let's say you would see you were high, and when you say give yourself insulin, it was in like a shot, and you would prick yourself. Was there a guideline you had to research or provided by a doctor of, hey, if you're in this level, give yourself this much amount. If you're in this level, give yourself this little amount?
They give you a standard guideline, and it was quick to learn that that didn't work for me.
That's so scary.
So it is very scary. You just get handed this medicine that you give yourself too much, you can hospitalize yourself, or even worse.
Yeah.
Or you're too scared to give yourself any, you'll just go extremely high, and then that will slowly start shutting down systems or long term, like I wear glasses. I didn't wear I want to say once I've controlled my diabetes, my prescription hasn't changed. So I believe I've had it for a little while and it was affecting my eyesight. But now I got that under control. My prescription hasn't changed.
The effects on your body of not having in control what different organs and things it is affecting your body.
Yeah. So it's very scary, and it's very hard because a lot of people want to listen to what their doctors say.
Yes.
And I completely get that. But
everybody's different. It's going to individually,
one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, like I'm supposed to give myself, 1 unit of insulin per 15 carbs. Well, sometimes that changes. It depends on, I had to learn how to reread labels. Not that I didn't know how to read labels, but now I had to learn how to read it for a type 1 diabetic because it's total carbs and then your fibers that are in the food and how all that's going to affect me.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it is scary.
So now, well, my thought just you talking about this was, you doing it for you, but imagine being a parent with a diabetic child and you, and you don't know how they feel. You're just relying upon what they're telling you and how scary that would be.
Yeah.
Well, in that process, does that child have to go through that same year process proving to their insurance, oh, this mom pricked them maybe up to 15 times a day to show they controlled it? This kid who's running around, who has more energy, so you're burning stuff. This kid who wants to eat different things. To get a pump, which is going to be maybe more beneficial for the parent to control it, but then a child running around with the pump on, gosh, I couldn't even imagine being an adult who's able to do that education on it.
Yeah. And it might be easier with a child because typically type 1 diabetic is known as a juvenile diabetes. So it might be a little bit different if they're younger, not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I couldn't imagine going through it myself and then having to have a child that's going through it. I mean, I would be able to help my child more now, but if it was before I was diagnosed, I couldn't imagine. I don't think I would sleep at all.
Let's go back to, okay, you were pricking your finger, you were giving yourself shots, you proved to the insurance company that you were amazing, you can control it, blah, blah, blah. And now you got your pump.
Yes.
You got your Dexcom. How is that related?
What are those? Yeah.
How has that changed your life?
Yes. So I don't have to carry a case around with me with insulin, make sure I keep my insulin at a certain temperature. I don't have to poke myself multiple times a day, which is a godsend. So I just wear, it looks like a pager. If anybody's old enough to know what a pager is, I just wear it on my hip. And honestly, I just don't even, it helps me to not worry less about it, because it works as a pancreas for me. If I know I'm eating something that has a little bit more carbs in it, or there is a cookie I want, I just go in and just punch in numbers and it delivers the extra insulin that I need.
Because the pager has a tube. Yep. And that's what you insert. That's still a shot when you switch it.
Yep.
You put that tube in because that's how they get the insulin to you. And the Dexcom you wear on your arm. So if anyone sees someone walking around, and you'll see it more now that you're aware of it, a plastic little piece on their arm, bottle cap on their arm, that's the Dexcom or some type of reader. So you shoot that into your skin when you change it to, and that reads to an app, that reads to the pager, that reads to the pancreas pump.
Yep. So it all connects together. This will read what my blood sugar levels are, and that will tell my pump if it needs to back off of insulin or if I need more insulin.
That's pretty amazing.
Yes.
How far that they've come with
because it alerts you when you're high.
It does. So I get an alert
progressing
on my phone and my pump. So I get double alerts in case I don't hear one.
But you wear this at night. You wear this you wear this at all times except do you wear it in the shower?
Nope, I can stop it, just disconnect it if, I go to take a shower, if I want to go swimming or, do something at a water park or, I have to disconnect it to charge it and things like that. So I am able to take it off if I need to, and I can take it off for about an hour at a time if I need to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just be really clear. You
Okay.
have this amazing machine that helps you regulate it, but that doesn't mean it's just a free for all. Eat what you want because you got this insulin attached to you that it's gonna, self manage. Okay, you still have to talk a little bit about that. I mean, you still have to manage what you eat. What specifically are you looking for? What can you eat? What do you need to stay away from?
Okay. So with that, my pump is set up to it slowly all day throughout the day just gives me a set amount of insulin. So that doesn't count for anything that I eat. So let's say in the mornings, every morning I always do coffee with protein powder. And I know my blood sugar is going to go up a little bit. So I give myself just a little bit of insulin. Okay. So there's things that I do every day that I know what I need to do. And so with every meal I eat, I have to give myself a little bit of extra insulin. And unlike you guys, your body just knows when that food enters in, it's going to just start producing extra insulin to
balance it out as it needs to.
So
you're doing this yourself.
I'm doing this myself. I can have anything I want, but I personally feel crappy the next day if I go on a binge and I'm just giving myself a bunch of extra insulin. It's almost like what I call it is a insulin hangover. Like I don't feel good. My head feels cloudy. So if I choose that, I can do that. But then that also affects not only my insulin intake, how I feel, but then I start gaining the weight too. Because insulin is basically storage fat cells. So then I'm not using it. I'm inserting it in my body so I can eat what I want. But then I'm not using it as in like going for a walk or, exercising to metabolize it.
And what's interesting, since your body's not naturally giving it to itself, does your body know what to do with the excess amount? Or does your body see it as something it's unaware of, so it just lets it sit there, and then that's where the weight gain comes from?
It just sits there. If I don't use it, I don't lose it. It just sits there.
Right.
Yeah.
And leads to
to weight gain. And I think, and you had talked about this a little bit before, I think a lot of people think, okay, I just got to stay away from sugar, that's what I do. But, the thing is, you got to look at carbs too, because those turned into sugar. I mean, we talk about bread, that's basically like eating sugar.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. Please.
So that's kind of going back to like learning how to reread labels. Because I did it before. I was on keto. So in my mind, I was still reading labels as far as like for my keto diet, where you take your total carbs, but you subtract this, subtract that, and then that's your total net carbs. Type 1 diabetic, you got to count for the whole total carbs.
Oh my God, you got to be so good at math. Oh God, it'd be the worst disease for me. Oh, it'd be so bad.
And so I did. I signed up to go see a dietitian just to kind of learn again, labels, food sizes, this and that. Because, you go out to eat, you're not going to have a nutrition label. And they don't serve you serving size.
And also, that's where it's kind of rude. Like, and again, you said everyone listens to their doctor, and the doctor's like, hey, here's this basic guideline sheet. But when you do that before you talk to a dietitian and relearn food and stuff like that, what this gives you from the doctor might not be helpful. And I can see that aggravating cycle.
Yeah. So with total carbs, then the second thing you look at is like the fiber in it. If it has a good amount of fiber, then the carbs are going to break down slower into my system. If it has less amount of fiber, it's going to go faster into my system. So that's more of like your sweet things that it's not going to have fiber in it, of course. But breads, look at your different breads. There's a type of bread. Some might have more fiber than others. And so then those factors break down into how fast it's going to enter my bloodstream or not.
Oh my gosh, that's so much.
So like if I know I'm going to eat something sweet, I'm going to need to put extra insulin in right away. If it's something with higher fiber in it, I might eat and then put my insulin in because I don't need my insulin to act fast because I know it's going to take longer for it to go into my bloodstream.
Because you've done so much of this research, instead of waiting for your pump to alert you, because I've looked at this carb, I've looked at this total carb, I've looked at net carb, I've looked at fiber. You've learned so much through all your research and listening to your body.
Yeah.
If I have this, I'm going to balance it out with this. And you try to avoid even getting those alerts. And we talked about showing to your insurance you can control it. You always stayed within those numbers.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to go high or low and just wait for the pump to tell you.
Yeah.
Because that'd be the lazy way. That is honestly probably what I'd do. I'd be like, oh, I want this. I don't know how it's going to affect me. I'd wait to hear what the pump told me. That really keeps you always bouncing back and forth off of these bumpers.
Oh, yeah. And there's days where I have, I would like to have a straight line on my pump, but there's days where it's a roller coaster. Because there's other factors. There's, illness, if I have pain. I'm a female, so that time of the month can affect it. And it's not the same every month. So 1 month during that time, I might run low, and then the next month, it might cause me to run high.
That's interesting.
But I don't know why. It just depends on what it wants to do.
So with you, you're very busy. You said you've worked multiple jobs. You've shared with us you've worked multiple jobs for years. You are a busy mom of 3 who do not have to have these diabetic restrictions. How do you feel, because a busy mom runs through the drive-thru, grabs something. How do you feel with that busy lifestyle and having this? Are your kids respectful of it? Are they aware that you might have to, do you make 2 different meals? Like, how does life work managing that with a busy schedule and kids?
It's frustrating at times.
Yeah.
More places are doing better about having, I don't want to say healthier options, but I can make options healthy.
Yeah.
I can get a grilled chicken sandwich and not eat the bread. Or, I can get a grilled chicken sandwich, not eat the bread, and maybe have a few fries because there's really not another option of sides. At home, I'll cook them a meal, and I try to have little things to the side where I can make me a small little pizza or just eat me a wrap at home, have veggies that I can cook for myself, just something that's maybe really quick for me, and then cook them a meal. So it's kind of a balance. And there's some days where I'm like, you know what, I don't even want to do anything extra, and I just get what I want and kind of deal with the effects afterwards.
Yeah.
But that's not every day.
Yeah.
So I try to have something on hand that I can just grab that's easy for me that I know won't affect me too much.
And I know I've learned so much from you. And personally being aware of someone who doesn't have to think of those things, watching someone be aware of those things that we just take for granted. Yeah, we'll pop something sweet in our mouth and be like, oh, I really shouldn't do that. I'm trying to watch my sweets versus you, like, literally, it's so much more of a factor. So I've learned so much from you. I know I ran and got us tea one day, and I was drinking half and half tea at that time, half sweet, half unsweet. So I just ordered 2 of those. I'm like, oh, that'll be fine. And I bring it back to you, and you're like, well, no, it will legit kill me, so I can't have this. I'm like, oh, so you're like serious about what you have to watch. Like, that was like the first times I'd ever gotten you something. I was like, oh, okay, so like this is like a serious thing we have to be really careful with. That was like before your pump and everything. And I was just like, oh, you're like, it's fine. I'll just add a lot of water to it and add insulin and give myself insulin. I was like, oh, so this is like for real. So what do you think the biggest misconception is about people when they hear about someone with diabetes?
That they don't know the different types of diabetes. I feel like when someone hears diabetes, they want to make the joke of, oh, you ate too much sugar.
Yeah. Okay, so what does that mean? I think a lot of people can agree with, I hear diabetes, oh, you can't have sugar.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by types?
Types. Okay, so there's type 1, type 2, and then there's, oh, shoot, I feel so bad that I forgot. Pregnant women get it just during
gestational
diabetes. And then there's a newer one that's coming out that they're calling 1.5 diabetes.
Oh my.
I don't like that one.
Yeah.
You're either type 1 or type 2. But
Of all the things we need to complicate in this world, let's not complicate medical diabetes.
yeah. And I have a feeling like that is more of possibly as someone of that's a type 1 diabetic that doesn't manage, maybe just gives themselves insulin and eats whatever they want. And then they get to the point of then their body being insulin resistant, which is a type 2 diabetic. So they still have to give themselves insulin because their body doesn't produce it, but then they're also not using it. So then now they're on insulin and metformin to try to counteract those two diabetes. And so now they named it 1.5.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
Okay.
So what's so you're type 1 where your body does not produce it, have to have externally insulin input. What is type 2?
Type 2 are diabetics where their body is resisting insulin. So their body produces it. They are not metabolizing it as in being active. You hear it a lot in older people because they're not as mobile. So they become type 2 later in life. So their body doesn't metabolize it. So it sits there and then that's where you get the weight gain.
And that's why as a not someone before I don't know if I've ever known anyone who's been type 1, honestly, because when I heard diabetic, it was eating all that sugar is going to give you diabetes, which is totally different. That's type 2. And I feel like the media, medically, the commercials, all about type 2, but they just say diabetes. So when I hear someone with diabetes, we always like, oh, you can't sugar. It's like, no, my body literally can't do these things. It's not just about sugar. That is completely different from what I've learned from experiences than eat too much sugar, you're going to get diabetes. Well, yeah, that's because it's a lifestyle thing. If you changed eating a lot of sugars, you would not have a lot of other probably medical issues, not just sugars, but lifestyle. That's why that type 2, you hear a lot more. It's lifestyle changes because your body is still working and making these things. Type 1, you have completely had to change your lifestyle and your body's still not able to do it. So I think society, the world, the medical field has done a really bad job at separating the significance between those two. And on our last family vacation, my brother had made a comment like that, like all the sugar is going to give us diabetes. And I got on my little diabetic friendly advocating perch and I said, that is not true. That is not how it works. And he was like, I don't get what's happening. I was like, that is not what type 1 and type 2 is. Know your differences. So I felt like I really wanted to advocate the little I know about it because it is so significantly different stories.
It is. It is very different. And they don't tell you the difference when they talk about it or the commercials on TV and anything else because they just like, if you have diabetes, take this. And it's like, well, that's for type 2.
Exactly. And they don't decipher
They
that.
don't. And that's all you hear and that's what people assume when they see or meet someone with diabetes. Oh, they're diabetic because they eat too much sugar or they don't work out or it's a lifestyle change because that's all you hear on everything. They don't tell you that it's type 1 or type 2. Because how many insulin, and when they advertise like Dexcom and stuff, type 2 diabetics and type 1 diabetics can both get it, but do you ever see commercials for insulins and insulin pumps as much as you do for medications to help you lose weight if you're diabetic?
Yeah. So that right there is a key indicator of you take this medicine to lose weight. It helps diabetics. That's that lifestyle change to get back to right levels.
Yeah.
That's not the, hey, here's this type of pump that's just been updated because that's a type 1.
Yeah.
That's a type 1. So that's really, really interesting.
Unfortunately, when you're taking medicine to lose weight, that a lot of people don't change their lifestyle to go off that medicine. And some people believe that that's what the drug companies want anyway, to keep you on that on that medicine anyway.
Yeah.
Well, and talking about frustrations, you've mentioned this to me before, you've wanted to work out, but you burn stuff and you lose things. So you have to work out and then sometimes, I don't want to say have a snack, but you have to watch your levels. So imagine just being able to go to the gym, work out, take your protein, go home and see results. that is also very much of a challenge because when you work out, you burn things, which changes your levels, which means you have to keep them in place. So imagine doing all that while trying to do something as challenging as working out. Or when you get a cold, I was like, hey, I have an extra, Sudafed or something like that. And you're like, well, I can't take that. People don't realize how much sugar is in stuff. Like the capsules you've mentioned of like maybe a Dayquil in pill form has sugar in it. So sometimes you just have to toughen it out. And I just think that's insane that is not talked about more. That there's not diabetic friendly cold medicine, which there probably is, but it's not. That's frustrating. So I'm frustrated being an assistant to this, being a viewer of this. So what has been the most frustrating part of this journey and new life change?
It is relearning my body. Like you think you know your body. So like I said, I lost a lot of weight. I almost lost 100 pounds, which I was working out. I thought I was doing good, but it was because I was sick. And then immediately whenever I was put on insulin, I gained like 80 pounds back.
And that right there, and not only just as a female, but someone who's put so much work in to have not only this new diagnosis, but all these new body changes, that had to be very awful.
And working out's not the same. So I have to, it depends on what I'm doing. Cardio makes my blood sugar go low. If I do weights or strengthening, that makes my blood sugar go up. And there is a special mode on my pump where I could put that I'm in exercise mode. And so it will back off the insulin. But sometimes if I don't do that soon enough or I do extra cardio, I'll still go low. And then that's where it comes in where I have to eat a snack that's not high in sugar, but has sugar in it so it can bring me up fast enough. And it's like, okay, well, I just ate my calories back that I just worked out on. And so it is frustrating. And, I am not consistent with it because I do get frustrated with it because I don't see results. Talk to my doctor. My doctor's like, well, you're almost 40 and you're a female. And I'm just like, that's not what I want to hear. Like, I know I am, but I have all this other stuff too on top of it. And they'll tell me that, well, you have your diabetes on top of it. And I'm like
you're just supposed to accept it and not make any changes.
Yeah. And it's like, man, I don't want to hear that. And then I go in and I do research and I'm trying to figure out what I can do. And it's just hard. It is really hard.
We talked about this in a few other episodes, how every day that is taken for granted for people who don't have to think about it. And just the awareness, like I said before I don't know if I know anyone who had to struggle with that. I had a professor in school one time who said he was diabetic. He would give himself shots in class and then chug his Diet Mountain Dew. So I didn't understand, it's just still so different until you know someone regularly. And that's not even knowing it. That's just seeing what you've gone through. So with the struggles you've been through and the amazing work you've done to not just accept what people tell you in research, what is something you would want to share with people who are just starting this journey or you might feel are struggling? Like if you could go back and say something to yourself, what do you wish you could share?
I would say, manage it the best you can. Don't give up. Listen to your doctor some, but join support groups. I went in on Facebook and joined so many like type 1 diabetes groups. Joined as many as I could. Because again, they're not doctors, and I'm not saying listen to everybody, but there could be someone on there that asks the same question that you're struggling with. Like before I got my pump, I was like, where do I wear it at night? Like, I don't want this on my hip while I'm sleeping. So I got in there and I just asked the question, hey, females with pumps, what do you do with it at night? I got several responses. Some people say, oh, I just tuck it under my pillow. I have other ones that said, they wear shorts or whatever at night, and they do. They just keep it on their hip. There's one that I follow now. She wears a sports bra to bed and she just clips it right in the center. And then there's belts that you can wear too.
Like when you wear dresses and you don't have like pants to a hip, you wear that belt and you put it on that.
Yeah. So, I knew I was on the path of getting the pump, and I'm like, what do I do with it? Blah, blah, blah. And so I just went in there and I asked a question. And then sometimes now I'm able to answer questions for other people, not answer questions, but let them
What
know
worked for you.
what
Yeah.
works for me. Because again, what I do today, and I can do the exact same thing tomorrow, and my blood sugars are going to act differently.
Especially if they just came off of a doctor visit, which that's,
Uh-huh.
you have to listen, doctors
Mhm.
are there for a reason, but they can't individually know what's worked for each person. They're like, hey, here's the
Yeah.
umbrella, here's the general list. So I think getting in those support groups, finding them that are positive and
Yes.
people who know what you're going through. You can talk to me and Jenny and say, hey, my feet are really hurting today. I've been working really hard. And we're going to say, oh, we're so sorry, but we're not going to get it, because it's not just that your feet hurt. It's that because of this disease, other things in your body are struggling. So that support group of someone who is going exactly through that with you. I can't imagine the people who feel so alone through this, don't feel comfortable doing the research, just listen to what their doctor says and, oh my God, this is my life now. That is what I have loved, because not once have you ever been, oh, I'm frustrated today, or, oh, I don't care, but it's never been, I'm like this because I have diabetes. You've never once put that as an excuse. And I think just kicking it up a notch and people feeling empowered to know, start somewhere, ask questions, don't just accept it for what it is, and life's over. So I highly suggest anyone who hears someone who's diabetic or knows someone who's diabetic, ask them questions, learn about it. Don't take for granted how your body works each day. I think that is a huge blessing. I don't want to say huge blessing I've learned, but that awareness of, oh my gosh, I don't have to think about these things and someone else does, is a blessing that I think goes unseen every day.
Are there more resources, Alicia, that you use besides social media groups for website resources that have helped you through this that maybe we could share on social media or with our listeners?
Like I said, contact a local dietitian. Your doctor can send you a referral over to go to talk to a dietitian. That's really helpful.
We'll get a list of those support groups you join, and we can copy that link and share those.
And then other things is just once I started getting emails from like Dexcom, and then my Tatum is the pump that I use. I just read those articles. And then other than that, honestly, Google, is where I've learned some things. Like whenever I first got sick, it was probably a weeknight or a weekend. I wasn't going to get anything from my doctor, so I had to Google, what can a diabetic take for a cold, or something like that, which I'm not saying Google is always correct. But
get you a place to start
it got me an answer, or it got me into a rabbit hole where I could go down and figure something out.
And I'm sure you've gone through things where you've tried it and your body did not like that. So you had to learn from that and know, hey, my body doesn't like that. Yeah. Like you said, learning every day, because 1 month could be different from the next day to the next day to the next month. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. Like I said, we have learned being around you so much, and being able to really help people and have that positive role model to help them. So thank you so much. Thank you listening today, listeners. If you have any questions or know someone or have gone through a similar story, please share your story with us. Tag us at #KickItUpANotchPodcast. We'd love to hear from you. Stay connected with us on all social media platforms, where you will find extra content and shows like this where we're sharing great stories and conversations. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you learned from today's episode or have any questions, and we can ask Alicia. Use Kick It Up a Notch podcast. And until next time, let's all work together to kick it up a notch in everything we do. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Kick It Up a Notch. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Until next time, keep reaching higher and kicking it up a notch.